everybody. Welcome to Tectonic Takes. I know it's been a while since you've seen us both, but here we are. What's up, Ivan? Welcome. Or maybe it's you welcoming me back, right?
Yeah, welcome back to, this recap podcast, part of what we do here at the Tectonic Takes podcast. I know we've both been working on different projects in the last few weeks, if not months, but here we are again.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a lot of fun working on all of this stuff that we do together, so I'm excited to finally get back to this, but I wish it was on better terms. I wish we were talking playoffs instead of next year, all right?
Yes, so to be clear, although I'm pretty sure most people listening to this podcast are aware, Quakes aren't out of the playoffs yet, but of course the key term is yet. It's 99% chance that they won't be in the playoffs. They need to win their 3 remaining games, one of those in the next one being against Portland Timbers, and they need other results to go their way. That's never really a good combination when you're 3 points away, let alone 7 or 9 points. So it's really tough.
Yeah, it was a different story if we would have won this game, right? I was looking at the table yesterday, and I was like, man, if we were at 39 points sitting looking at other people at 44, that's a little more likely, right? But it's still kind of a long shot. But, yeah, this last game versus Vancouver was some points dropped at home, and, it's funny that it came down to one of our own guys, right, at the beginning of the season that we had on our show, blocking that goal going in for the Quakes to win by Chris Wondolowski goal. But, yeah, I mean, I was happy after the Austin game. I thought, finally we get a thrashing. This team didn't have a really big problem getting that convincing win. It was always a 2-1 or a last minute kind of win this year, or it was a 1-1 draw. We never got that last minute goal in. But Ivan, thoughts on both games? What's your thought on the Austin game first off?
Yeah, so we'll set things up here. So the Quakes used a 4-2-3-1 formation against Austin. JT Marcinkowski in goal, Tommy Thompson, Nathan, Tanner Beeson, and Marcos Lopez as their back 4. They had Eric Remedy and Jackson Yule as their holding midfielders. Chofis Lopez and Benji Kikanovich as the wingers. Andy Rios in the 10 slot, and Jeremy Abobasi up top. And we saw Espinoza, Marie, Wando, Cowell, and Fierro come on as subs. And missing that game, the main injury was Luciano Abacasius, who's out with a lower left injury, and we didn't see him in the Vancouver game either. Whereas for Austin starting 11, who are coached by the U.S. men's national team player Josh Wolf, he scored the go-ahead goal in the 2001 World Cup qualifying Dos a Zero match in Columbus. His lineup was Brad Stuver in goal, Nick Lima, Julio Cascante, Johan Romagna, and Zan Kolmanich in their back line. Thomas Pochettino and Alexander Ring, a very strong holding midfield partnership. Well, not this game, but usually. Their wingers were Diego Fagundes and Cecilio Dominguez, with Sebastian Driussi as their 10, and Musa Digite was up top as their striker. And then we saw Gaines, Redes, Pereira, and Kutemane is their substitutes, with Andrew Tarbell, former Quake, as their backup goalkeeper, and Danny Houston was one of their notable injuries. He's been out for much of the season with a left hip.
Yeah.
So a lot of
crazy. He's been
back and forth between these two clubs here. Former Quakes players in both games, but especially in the Austin setup.
Yeah, and Danny Houston, like I was saying, has been out almost a whole year. So that was a free $50,000 and actually an expansion pass for this year, right? So thank you, Austin FC, for taking Danny Houston from us.
One of their few bad decisions, if we're being honest. Like, we love Danny Houston, but in terms of building to be a competitive team right away in MLS, the best ability is availability. Houston hasn't been able to be available, but when you look at the rest of this roster, yes, we were able to beat them 4-0, but we've seen them play very well throughout this MLS season in spurts, and their DPs all look like solid DP signings. Thomas Pochettino, Sebastian Driussi, and Cecilio Dominguez. Yeah. They're the quality DPs that, they're on Christian Espinoza's level, maybe a little bit better, and we'd be happy to have those types of players at San Jose Earthquakes. So that's something that they can still improve on, even compared to teams who are already eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, and kind of looking at the game
Mm-hmm.
versus Austin, I thought, wow, 4-0. I mean, going into the half, I think it was 0-1-0. So
Yeah.
it was nothing too crazy. But I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited for next year. I know I'm included throwing in the towel this year, but I'm excited for Benji Kikanovic. I mean, this is a guy who came out of nowhere, right? He's starting over Espinoza. That's why I think, unfortunately, Espinoza's one foot out the door already. I think maybe they're looking at kind of getting rid of him and possibly just having Benji take over that role. And I would be okay with that. I think Espinoza wasn't performing at his DP level. I know we want to talk about how bad Andy Rios is, but hey, Andy Rios is starting.
I disagree.
Not,
I don't think that Espinoza's played as well as he can, but I don't think he's been a liability either. He's been contributing a steady stream of assists, key passes, a few goals throughout this season and last season. For whatever reason, it feels like unless he gets a hat trick of assists, like it doesn't seem like enough. But I think if Espinoza were to move on, it wouldn't be in the same caliber of failed experiment as it would have been as we parted ways with Vaco.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yes.
think Espinoza was, I would say, on a 1 to 10, probably a
7.
6 or 7.
7. Well,
I'd say
Vaco
6
was
or
a
7.
5 or a 6. Espinoza was a 6 or a
Yeah.
7.
Okay, I'll give it 6.5 because we made the playoffs once. He was up there in assists every year, but he never really, really reached the peak of one of the best players in the league. And I feel like he has that potential, but it's just maybe not something that's happening. And we have guys like Benji Kikanovic and Cade Cal coming up where I think if we're going to play the young guys, we need to play the young guys. And maybe, I don't know, nowadays, what are we going to do with all this money? I know the money is going to come off of Carlos Fierro and Andy Rios. I wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign on a very small contract because I think a lot of these guys like living in the Bay Area, and a lot of them have roots here now. So don't be surprised when Andy Rios signs a $200K contract with the San Jose Earthquakes and Almeida plays him next year. So, or even the same goes with Carlos Fierro, a $300K contract. Maybe he stays around. And I think the sentiment of Carlos Fierro, at least, is they would like him to come back on a super deal. Yeah, so no problem with that. But overall, 4-0 win. That was a fun win. Chofis Lopez got on the board. Chris Wondolowski snagged a goal. It was a fun time at PayPal. Ivan, were you there?
I wasn't able to make it to the Austin game. I was at the Vancouver game. And a few more stats from that game. San Jose Earthquakes had more shots, 20-15 advantage. And they also had more shots on target, 9-5 advantage. They outpossessed Austin 55% to 45% with a greater passing accuracy at 82%. 3 chances created, 10-8 advantage on corners. They fouled 2 more times than Austin did. They had 1 offsides. There's no yellow cards for once. But that's pretty much the stats for that game. So the most complete performance of this season, I think.
Wait, no yellow card? I think there was a yellow card in that game, Ivan.
Was it?
There was Marcos Lopez got a yellow card that was really stupid. And I remember getting really mad about that. And then Nathan, I think, got a yellow too because he was out on accumulation.
I don't know why I had no yellow cards. Maybe...
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. Don't stress about
Yes.
it. But yeah, I want to talk about that Marcos Lopez yellow.
Yeah.
What was up with that? What was going through his mind? That was a very young mistake because we were up 3-0.
Yeah.
They were on a breakaway. No need to pick up another extra yellow when we're going to need you for that Vancouver game.
Yeah, and I think as well, when the game is that much settled, I think that there should be more of an emphasis on subbing out players who are 1 yellow away from being suspended. And I think it was too late for Nathan, but we saw Paul Marie come on for Tommy Thompson, and Tommy Thompson hasn't played all too much this season. So if Tommy Thompson goes the full 90 in this game, maybe he doesn't play as much as he does in the Vancouver game, although I'm trying to also think about that game as well. Tommy Thompson did get a yellow card that game, but that's not what I'm looking for. Tommy Thompson was subbed off that game for Shea Salinas, so they didn't play him full 90 both games anyway. So,
but I like what Tommy Thompson has done this year so far. I'm going to say that. I think he can step into that Shea role either next year or the year after, no problem. I think Paul Marie can do something like that too. I've been happy with their play. So I think subbing off Marcos Lopez, if he's one yellow away, and maybe I think Matias didn't know that. I think maybe someone didn't go ahead and let him know that, or they weren't looking for it, because Marcos Lopez usually doesn't get a yellow card. So
Right.
I mean, it might have been something where it was like, oh, snap, now we got to go into, or Vancouver coming in without our best defender, because he hands down is our best defender.
Yes, our best fullback for sure, our best defender too. Nathan sort of let that title slip in the last couple of games.
I think Nathan's great, but I think Marcos Lopez is world class because, I mean, he goes up head to head with likes of Brazil, likes of Argentina, and he does a good job with them. So I think Marcos Lopez, this is not the last stepping stone in Marcos Lopez's career.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, I agree. And so let me be clear with the Tommy Thompson point. So he gets subbed off in both Austin and Vancouver. If you put in Paul Marie for Marcos Lopez in this game, you save him for Vancouver because he can't get booked. Tommy Thompson plays the full 90. He can start for Vancouver, but he doesn't go the full 90. He gets subbed for Salinas in Vancouver, which they did anyway, so that would have been an easy fix. And it's the little things that make the biggest differences. And who knows if Marcos Lopez was playing in the Vancouver game, does he prevent that goal from happening? It was more of a central area, so I think it's more of Nathan's absence being the key contributor there. But it sure helps. Maybe Marcos Lopez's attacking strength, he's able to whip in a cross, or he's able to shoot one from outside the box that goes in. That would also make a difference too, so we win 2-1. So that is still a key suspension that, while we were enjoying the 4-0 win over Austin, that was still lingering over our head, and then it came to fruition there.
Of course. And the silver lining out of that actually might be Jackson Ewell's got to play center back. It probably would have been Marcos Lopez playing that center back role, but we got to see Jackson Ewell in that center back role. So.
Yeah, so just to wrap up Austin, because that was the less eventful of the two games. The player of the match, offensively, you could give it to Benji there, and he won the poll for both games. Obviously, he got the goal for the Vancouver game, so he was most likely going to be the runaway winner for that poll anyway. But defensively, I done goofed and I didn't put Tanner Beeson on that poll, and I probably should have. He had a particularly important goal line clearance in that game while it was still in the balance. So that was an important contribution from Tanner Beeson. And a lot of our young players contributing this season, which is definitely the best storyline that we could have asked for.
Yeah, and it makes me look back on the season and think what would have happened if Jeremy Ebobisse didn't get hurt, right?
Yeah, that was a turning point.
Plays completely different with him. And so it's completely unfortunate, and as well as Benji, right? What would have happened if Benji didn't get injured? Because he's playing lights out now, so it's like the only player on the press conferences too that wants to talk to us, right?
Yes.
So, and it's funny because he's always talking about, he's giving the honest truth, like, hey, at the end of the day, we didn't win, we need to win.
Yeah,
so
he handles them so well. I'm very impressed with his answers. Hopefully, we get a chance to upload some of Benji's press conference questions on our YouTube channel at Tectonic Takes. But just being in that press conference and listening to him speak, this didn't feel like a rookie. This felt like, he's been doing this for years, and he just has that confidence in himself. Like, he knows what he's capable of, and even though everyone in the Quakes fandom will be very happy with how Benji is doing, he seems like the type of player that, like, win, lose, or draw, he's going to be in the gym the next day trying to get better.
Right. And that's what you love to see out of a player. And you know what? This might be a stretch, but I kind of see a captain in him. I think maybe 5 or 6 years down the road, I can see a captain in him. I think he's very poised. I think he's the type of personality where he'll tell you the truth. But I could see a captain in him.
Yep.
Ivan?
Yes, I agree that Benji can be a captain. So I think for now, he's going to be one of the most important players for whatever happens in the upcoming season. Next up for the
All right, so
Whitecaps games, the changes in the lineup. Tanner Beeson's new center back partner for that game was Jackson Ewell, which was definitely a surprising decision, but it was a really good decision, it turns out. Paul Murray filled in at left back. We saw Andy Rios move into the center midfielder spot that was vacated by Jackson Ewell. And then we have our front four of Kikanovic, Espinoza, Chofis, and Ebobisi. And we saw Fierro, Salinas, Wando, Cowell, and Scan come on. And for the Whitecaps, with Vanni Sartini acting as their interim coach, they had a 3-4-1-2 formation. Maxime Crepeau was their goalkeeper, and he always seems to play well against the Quakes. Then they had a back three of Flo Youngworth, Renko Veselinovic, and Eric Godoy. Their wingbacks were Bruno Gaspar and Christian Dahome, with Russell Tybert and Leonard Owusu in their center mid spots. Scottish Messi, a.k.a. Ryan Gold, was their number 10, and their strike partnership was Brian White and Daber Saicedo, with Lucas Cavallini, Michael Baldissimo, Javane Brown, and Ryan Raposo coming off their bench. And they're not necessarily any notable injuries, but they had multiple players come back from injury. Two of their center backs, Veselinovic and Godoy, recently recovered from injuries, as well as Bruno Gaspar. But Bruno Gaspar, one of the least likely players of either team to score in this match, he scored the opening goal, and that was a bit of a sucker punch.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think this Vancouver team makes the playoffs, Ivan?
I see no reason why not. They've gotten the job done. They were in a similar position as the San Jose Earthquakes were 2 months ago. The difference was Vancouver Whitecaps were able to pick up more points than the Quakes, and I think they have a better team. Like, you can't really debate that, looking at where these two teams are headed in opposite directions, and they've really built the roster. They went and brought in a game-changing DP, and maybe this is where some of the criticism for Espinoza is a bit more warranted, because he has been a contributor for the Quakes, but Ryan Gold has been at another level for the Whitecaps. And they've been able to win the hard games. I think I was not as shocked at Vancouver turning a 2-0 deficit around to a 3-2 win over Portland as I would be the Quakes winning in any fashion against Portland, if we're being honest, come Wednesday.
Yeah, Jeremy Ebobisi needs to start banging in goals too.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in with a pretty big price tag, and I know he got injured, and I know he's getting back into the thick of things, but I'm going to need some more out of Jeremy Ebobisi, especially because this team is kind of catered to what he needed out of Portland, and he didn't get that in Portland. So he needs to go ahead and make sure that he shows us that he has that 9 ability, because he was, if you guys were following Portland, he was actually moved over to the wing spot because they brought in a 9 to go ahead and play Felipe Mora, I believe it was. But now they didn't have a spot for Jeremy Ebobisi, and the Quakes saw that. Chris Leach saw that and thought, okay, the Quakes could use a 9, a real 9, and they kind of brought him over. So he needs to go start scoring them goals, and I'm assuming next year he's going to have a 10-plus season, but I need to see a little bit out of him now. And yesterday was a great opportunity to kind of cement himself in this starting lineup. And unfortunately, the job didn't get done. Benji got on the board, but nothing else came from the Quakes. Wondolowski almost got another one because, Wando's goals come in bunches, but unfortunately, Florian Youngworth, our own Florian Youngworth, was the one to stop that goal from going in.
Yeah.
And it's, we were all saying what a great transfer that was, but if we don't make the playoffs because of that transfer,
then
it
wasn't a great transfer,
moment, right?
At least in the short term.
Right. So,
yeah.
Definitely. So we'll see. I guess, Ivan, anything to look forward to in the last couple of games coming up?
Yeah, so let's first wrap up the Vancouver game. So it was another strong statistical game for the Quakes. They had 16-7 advantage on shots, and both teams had 3 shots on target. So that was probably the biggest issue there, not converting on those chances. 13 shots off target is crap. But the rest of the stats are in the Quakes' favor. They had 64% possession, 83% passing accuracy. They had 2 chances created to Vancouver 0. They had 5-2 corner advantage. Vancouver fouled 3 more times. one offside for the Quakes, and this time I'm pretty certain the only yellow card was the Tommy Thompson yellow card. And
Yeah, and this game was, I guess, back and forth the whole game.
Yes, it was.
The Quakes were really pressing at the end. They sending long balls because they understood that they had to win this game. And it's unfortunate that PayPal wasn't a fortress. I'm using Chris Wondolowski's words here. We need to get some more wins at home because PayPal Park needs to be a fortress, and it wasn't that this
There was
year.
the home
We
field
lost at
advantage,
home.
just couldn't cash in on it. And it was a very special day, of
Right.
course. We had so many members of the 2001 MLS Cup team in attendance due to the 20th anniversary celebration. And for those of you who weren't there and you didn't see the tweet, players that were there included Dominic Kinnear, Frank Yallop, Joe Cannon, Ramiro Corrales, Jimmy Conrad, Ronald Cerritos, Dwayne De Rosario, Troy Dayak, and Jeff Agus. The notable absence, of course, was Landon Donovan, but he had a game to coach in San Diego the following day, so it probably would have been very tough for him to do that on such a short turnaround. But it was a great atmosphere. It was a great game. Fans got their commemorative 2001 championship rings, which will look great with my 1975 Golden State Warriors ring. Here's the box anyway for the San Jose Earthquakes ring. I posted the ring itself on Instagram. But yeah, the stage was set for at least a stronger attacking performance than we got in terms of the shots that weren't converted. And it was so nearly there for that go-ahead goal, but all it takes is those moments, and it was one moment of being unable to convert a goal from Wondolowski having a shot blocked by Flo Youngworth, and another moment of, JT Marcinkowski, who otherwise had a good night, he wasn't able to hold on to the ball in a savable shot, and then Bruno Gaspar, of all people, he gets there first, and he gives Vancouver a crucial goal as well.
Yeah, and what a great night, but what a great way to ruin it, right? So
Yeah.
Our playoff chances really ended yesterday on a great night. The mural looks really nice. Ivan, what'd you think of that mural?
The mural was
Did you see
great.
it?
I wasn't able to see it in person, but I saw the pictures. Fans described it to me at the tailgate, and it was really incredible there. And even people who weren't Quakes fans, when I talked about it on Discord and other social media platforms, they were really excited about that mural. They thought that it was really great, that it's another piece of Quakes history and soccer history that is being a part of the literal fabric of the community here in San Jose. And the more of those things that exist for MLS clubs and soccer in general, as we've seen murals for Lakers and Dodgers in Los Angeles and things of that sort, Warriors in Oakland and SF, then it really does feel like soccer is growing in this country.
We need some more of that. I think
Yeah.
we really do need some more of that. Like especially maybe a mural of Chris Wondolowski and Shea Salinas, side by side with Bernardez and that We Believe season, or the Never Say Die season. So maybe we
Goonies
see
Never
another
Say
one when
Die.
that 20-year anniversary comes up. So yeah, the Never Say Die Goonies mentality. Maybe we see Lenhart with that crazy hair on the mural. But
That was an incredible
I think
hairstyle.
that's needed. I think San Jose is a big enough city where you can find walls. It's huge. You can find, and the Sharks don't really go crazy with murals, right? So
Yeah.
it's something where it could be in the fabric. I know it's going to be something that people I know maybe aren't interested in soccer, but it's like a cool Instagram picture with the blue mural behind it. So
Right.
it's like it's something where let's get some more of that. Yeah, so I really like that. And unfortunately, Landon Donovan couldn't make it. I feel like he was a big part of that team.
Yes,
so
he was absolutely a huge part of it. It was his first MLS Cup. It was the very start of his career. If he doesn't have that kind of season, Landon Donovan's not in the World Cup squad in 2002 for Japan and Korea. And if he's not in the World Cup squad, maybe USA don't go as far as they did. Their best ever finish in the modern era. So love him or hate him, Landon Donovan is an important part of Quakes history, MLS history, and U.S. soccer history.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I thought, what a horrible way to end it. But we move on to the next game, right, Ivan?
Yeah, we move on to the next games after we get through some recent results. I won't say all of them, since some of them were between teams that weren't really playoff relevant, but we saw Sounders lose 1-0 to Sporting Kansas City. This was important for two reasons. Sporting Kansas City clinched their playoff status, and New England Revolution clinched their supporter shield with that result. The Columbus Crew, the defending champions, get a hammer blow to their playoff hopes as the New York Red Bulls beat them 2-1. New York City FC beat DC United 6-0. That was...
Yeah, I was shocked about that one.
Yeah, one more goal than Liverpool scored against Manchester United this weekend, unfortunately. Or fortunately, in Favi's case. Philadelphia Union beat Nashville 1-0. Minnesota United and LAFC drew 1-1. Inter Miami keep their playoff hopes alive with a 5-1 win over Cincinnati. And the reason the Quakes weren't eliminated yet, Chicago Fire beat Real Salt Lake 1-0. So Real Salt Lake, they're starting to panic a little bit too. And then we had Rapids beating Timbers 2-0. So Rapids clinched their playoff spot. And Galaxy and FC Dallas drew 2-2. Galaxy not pleased with that result. With as well on Sunday, we had Orlando beat New England 2-0. I think you will see that New England Revolution, mischief managed. They're done for the regular season. They're not going to take those remaining games seriously, so they don't care if they lose out. I mean, they already won the Supporter Shield. Nothing else to do other than be ready for the MLS playoffs. Any result that surprised you, Favi?
Yeah, the DC United one really shocked me because I spoke to Tony Alfaro, with a defender of DC United, and he was telling me that every single game is a playoff game. So to lose a playoff game like 6-0 is very, very shocking.
Yeah.
I was looking at DC United's Twitter feed, and a lot of the people are saying that's probably the worst DC United defeat of all time. So definitely that was a shocking result. Inter Miami winning 5-1. I mean, the results came out, or the reports came out that Higuain kind of wanted out. So seeing them kind of bring on a 5-1 kind of win was a little shocking, to say the least. But RSL losing, that was good. But
yeah.
but the Quakes could have got ahead and I guess capitalized, but they didn't. So the Eastern Conference is a little more shocking to me, I would say.
Yes. And so let's start with the Eastern Conference for the standings update. So obviously at the top, New England Revolution. But it gets interesting after that. You have Philadelphia Union second, just ahead of Nashville, both on 49 points. You have Orlando City, New York Red Bulls, and Atlanta United filling those playoff spots. But Montreal is level on points with Red Bulls and Atlanta United, so they are still very well in the mix. DC United with 41 points, Inter Miami and Columbus Crew with 38, and then the rest of the Eastern Conference is eliminated at that point. So San Jose Earthquakes with 37 points. They have the lowest points total of any team still not yet mathematically eliminated. So that's not a great place to be, not only because obviously we're most likely not making the playoffs, but it essentially means right now we are the 7th worst team in MLS, ahead of the Texas teams in the Western Conference, ahead of Chicago Fire, Toronto FC, and FC Cincinnati. So that's not the class that we envision ourselves to be in. This episode, podcast episode, will be titled Heroes and Sidekicks because of our last segment. And needless to say, San Jose Earthquakes really feel like a sidekick right now in the MLS landscape here.
Yeah, and the most shocking thing about this is actually I'm looking at the teams, and we're 3 games away, right? 3 games away from the end of the season, and only 6 teams out of 27 teams are eliminated. So as an MLS fan, as a neutral,
Great
this
stuff.
is actually a very exciting time.
Yeah.
So very exciting time if you're an MLS fan, because except for us, I mean, we're San Jose Earthquakes fans, but everybody's still available to make the playoffs.
As Abby
So
will
deadline day is
remind
actually
me
a
every
fun
time I talk to her, it could be worse. It could be Cincinnati.
Yeah, right. What if you're a Cincinnati fan? You have Brenner. You spent $10 million on that guy. Eesh.
They're the Watford of MLS, but even that is a disservice to Watford because Watford are looking kind of decent in the Premier League, but they don't give their managers enough time to build anything sustainable, and then they're just stuck in that same position.
Hey, Watford won 5-1 versus Everton yesterday, so hey,
maybe
maybe Cincinnati can pull something out.
The comparison is strictly in terms of like sacking their managers at the rate that the two clubs have had, but in terms of performances, yeah, Watford have done a lot better for themselves. In the Western Conference, though, So no one has clinched the Western Conference yet. The top three is Seattle Sounders 58, Sporting Kansas City, and Colorado Rapids 55 points each. So any of those three teams can still win the Western Conference with 3 games left. And then in the next tier, fourth place Portland Timbers 46 points starting us off, then followed by Galaxy 46, Minnesota 45, Vancouver 44, and then the playoff line sees Real Salt Lake underneath with 42 and LAFC with 41. So if we were in either Real Salt Lake or LAFC's shoes with 42 and 41 points, even if we just got a draw in this last game and it still wouldn't be satisfactory then, that would still be a better position to be in because you're still only 3 points away. And with the schedule that remains, we have a strong team that remains with Portland Timbers. We have a slightly less strong but still tough opponent with Real Salt Lake. And then we have FC Dallas. So 3 different levels of opponents there. So you can probably plan on maybe beating FC Dallas for 3 points, and you have to get what you can get there. But now that's not good enough for the Quakes. Just to even have a chance, you have to get 9 points to get up to 46, which is only good enough for 4th or 5th. And that's in a vacuum where no one else has done anything yet. Yeah. But that's not the case. We don't operate in a vacuum. The other teams will have chances to get points as well. And the biggest missed opportunity, of course, was taking 3 points away from Vancouver. Being on 40 points and that 4-point gap on Vancouver, that would be a little bit easier to make up as opposed to now where it's 7 points.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they would have been on 39 points because you would have to -1, but it would be a closer kind of go at it, right? So, but kind of looking at these next remaining games, I'm a little interested on the Montreal Forge game. You're having a Canadian Championship game, kind of in the thick of things while they're in the playoff game. So that's a little funny to me. But yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how the Canadian Championship works, but it is something that is important in the sense that Montreal are competing in this competition as well as they're chasing a playoff spot. So you're going to see a lot of rotation in that game, but of course the Canadian Championship is the best opportunity for Canadian teams to get some silverware, so you don't want to rotate too much either. But of course the most important thing right now is MLS playoff participation. Other games I'm going to be looking at, Tuesday night is a big game. It's Diego Rossi versus Nicolas Ladero, except Ladero's still hurt. LAFC versus Seattle Sounders. That's going to be a big game.
Gone.
Oh, Diego Rossi's gone.
Rossi's in Turkey, though.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Brian Rodriguez, you mean?
Brian Rodriguez, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, another big game, kind of, on Wednesday at 4 p.m., New England versus Colorado Rapids. Again, it depends on who shows up for New England. If they still put a strong lineup there, we're going to really see what the Rapids are made of. Another interesting game on that day will be Sporting Kansas City versus LA Galaxy, as well as Whitecaps versus Minnesota United. And then lastly, Thursday, October 28th, the one-off CONCACAF Champions League final, Monterrey versus America. Who do you think is going to win that, Favi?
I think America is going to kind of...
Sadly, I agree.
...cement themselves again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think America is... Their squad's too strong. I think they have some crazy depth. They have some players like Aquino that is just lights out when it comes to these CONCACAF matches. And I think they're going to do a great job. They have Layun now, so they stole Layun from Monterrey. So I think they're going to get the job done.
All right. I unfortunately agree. America just seemed to be near unstoppable, either in the CONCACAF Champions League or their domestic league as well in Liga MX. For the Quakes remaining games, so Timbers away, RSL away, and FC Dallas at home. From 0 to 9, what's the point tall you predict for those last 3 games?
I'm assuming 7 points. I'm thinking 7 points. I'm a little optimistic. I think we tie the Timbers, we get eliminated, and we beat RSL to be the spoilers, and then we beat FC Dallas in Wando's last game at PayPal Park.
I'll give them 6 points. I don't see them beating the Timbers, but I can see them beating Real Salt Lake. We already beat them once in their home stadium, so it can happen. And we owe them a little bit of payback for what they did at Via Stadium as well. And FC Dallas, I think we got to finish strong. We got to do it for Wando. And FC Dallas, aside from Jesus Ferreira and Ricardo Pepi, I feel like most of their players, they just haven't been playing at the level that they need to for FC Dallas to be improving either. So that's how I see it.
And looking at the dates between the second to last game versus the last game, we have 12 days in between. So that's another international break.
Sorry, it should be Sunday, November 7th. Sorry. So we have 8 days in between.
No worries. Yeah, 8 days in between. So I hope the Quakes really start rolling out the red carpet for Wando. We start to see some memorial videos, maybe some something. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be his last year. I don't know. Matias Almeida said something kind of weird about Chris Wondolowski possibly maybe coming back next year when I asked him about what's going on next year.
I hope they don't do this again.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. Maybe we squeeze out another year out of Wando. Why not? I think Wando's still contributing in some sort of aspect where he can be a late sub, maybe on a cheaper deal, of course. But maybe we get another year out of Wando.
The emotional part of me agrees 100%. More Wando, the better. But from a GM standpoint, from a team building standpoint, and from also I feel like we've sold Wando up a river a couple times where we've promised him that there was going to be a competitive team for him, a playoff level team. We barely squeaked into it in 2020. We're not going to get the job done in 2021, most likely. It's going to be really tough to sell Wondolowski again on 2022 to play again. We're going to make the playoffs this time when it just hasn't been an open and shut case. I can't compare ourselves to the Seattle Sounders. Seattle Sounders, what they've done is incredible. Every season they've been in MLS from 2008 or whatever it was onwards to the present, they made the playoffs. It would be nice to have some kind of consistency like that for 2 years in a row. We can't even do that. So I think with Wondolowski retired, that opens the door for Jeremy Abobasi. He gets more minutes at the 9. He gets Benji Kikanovic also could potentially sub in for him, or if you need to sub out Abobasi, you can move Benji up top. That will help this next phase of the San Jose Earthquakes. So, and also just mentally, we've had our mindset set on this is the one to last season. So, if that changes again, it's a bit of a blindside, and it does have to reshuffle the next several moves that the Quakes have to make to become more relevant.
But I think all Quakes fans would love Wando next year. So.
Of course. There's a large segment of Quakes fans who go to the game strictly because of Chris Wondolowski. But we also have, in the sense of their position and their hometown status, being Bay Area natives, Benji Kikanovic can be that next Wondolowski.
Yeah, and I agree. I think because he's relative to the area, or he's a NorCal guy.
Yeah, San Jose and Sacramento, Wando and Danville, but yeah, pretty much. So
okay, so let's go ahead and go into the listener questions.
All right,
Ivan.
So Luis Velasquez asks, "What can we do to be more consistent next year? We need to bury the chances given." Favi, do you have any new insights on this? Because I feel like we've answered this question a couple of times.
Consistency means depth. We need to get some depth in this roster. We need to not do those stupid yellow card accumulation misses like suspensions. So definitely we need to get rid of that stuff. But I think getting rid of the stupid yellow cards would be an easy way to be more consistent, because then you get your more regular players playing every single game. So I think that's a big thing. So
I agree with you. I don't really have any more to add because I'm at a loss when it comes to this team's inconsistency. They've tried just about everything, or so we think. Ty asks about the level of experimentation at the end of the season. Is the team getting close to having a set identity play style, or continue to expect the unexpected? And I think the team probably, or definitely at this point, isn't good enough to play the same way every time. I think that they do need an element of surprise to be effective, and part of that was shown against the Vancouver game when Jackson Ewell, he got chosen to start as a center back, and he was clearing everything with authority. He was intercepting passes. He was starting the attack. He was disrupting their movements, and no one could have seen that coming. Especially, their interim coach is doing a good job with Vancouver, of course, putting him in his position to make the playoffs, but I don't think he was prepared to deal with that. I think, and Vancouver did score the goal off of a rebound from JT Marcinkowski, so I think part of that identity will still be there, as Quakes will still likely not be the most dominant team, despite often having more possession of the ball. That they're still going to be relying on counterattacks and counterpunching, but I think that there's still going to be some aces that have to be kept up the sleeves.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I think that was plenty. The next question is from Joro27. Asks, why was Florian so bitter towards everyone? I liked what you said on Tectonic Takes Twitter, Ivan, that he's just a mercenary type of player.
He's a bounty hunter.
I mean, he's someone... Yeah, a bounty hunter. Yeah, exactly. So someone that will just play for the heart and soul of any crest that he wears, and that's the type of player you want on your team. But unfortunately, he's against us now, so we have to live with Florian Ljungberg, the enemy now. So that's just unfortunate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's the 5th minute of extra time. He will tackle you in that minute, and then once the final whistle blows, he will pick you up, shake your hand, and ask you how your family's doing. That's who Flo is.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Flo's a great person off the field. He does a lot of work for dogs that need to find homes, so he's definitely a great person.
Flo didn't even piss me off compared to Leonard Owusu this game. He was being a real Daniel Shalhoub. Leonard Owusu, he ran 30 yards to pick a fight with Andy Rios. First of all, Andy Rios, come on, pick on someone else. Like, Andy Rios has got enough problems. Like... It's not worth it, Leonard. Come on. And I don't get it. Like, he's a good player, I guess. Like, but he's not even. He's in the same level as Lalas Abubakar for the Rapids, and he was partially responsible for Jeremy Ebobisse getting hurt. And it's just like, these players like to get into the skin. Maybe they've been following some advice from Quincy Amarikwa, who. He's playing for the Oakland Roots, and they were in a wild 4-3 thriller against San Diego Loyal earlier today. But, yeah, just, Leonard Owusu, don't be like that. But, yeah, it was quite the intense game.
Next question comes from Onik Ruznov. Noted the return of the 1-1 draw curse returned, and the Quakes desired more.
Nothing gets past Onik. Like, every time he comments on the San Jose Earthquakes Facebook page, like, he drops a nugget of wisdom, and he's just one of the best at that. So it's always great talking to him, or at least just seeing his posts. And we talked a little bit about why Ewell played in the center back when Alanis was available, or I guess we talked about the benefits of making that decision, which is what Diego asked. But Osvaldo Alanis, he's just kind of fallen off the map.
He has tired legs, that's for sure. I remember his last press conference. He said, "We're running a lot," and it seemed like a broken man. I hate to say it, but it seemed like someone that was just tired. And maybe this long season is a lot, and it's probably for a player that's up in his age, and it seems like he needs to take a rest.
Lastly, Daniel Estrada asked the question everyone's been thinking. Why don't they always play like they do against Austin FC? And I have 2 answers for you. 1, we don't know. That's the part of the inconsistency. And 2, and we have some friends who are Austin fans, so we mean this with love and respect. We can't play Austin every game. We can't play FC Dallas every game. We have to play teams that are higher in the table than us. And that means that we're not going to be able to win 4-0 all the time. And even if we were Bayern Munich, they don't win 4-0 every game either. So, unfortunately, the Quakes are what they are, and we just can't get our act together enough to make the playoffs, to make our minimum expectations. And that's where we are as we wrap up this podcast.
But Ivan, you know what team actually wins 5-0 in all their derbies?
No.
Liverpool.
No. That's not true. Before today, most of the Liverpool-Manchester United games recently have been lower scoring.
Yeah, they have. But, I mean, now you got to live with this one, right? No. But it's it's better for you guys. No Ole now, so.
So you think. Like, they'll find a reason to keep him. Until it's official, I don't believe it. But so the whole theme that I was thinking of when Austin and Vancouver were the next two games on our schedule, and after that would be Portland, is like, okay, so in the movie Sky High, for those of you who didn't watch it, it's a Disney movie from like circa 2005. It was about this kid who had two superhero parents, and he didn't have any powers. So he was automatically placed in the sidekick class, and the hero class were the good powered students. Like, they had the actual superhero powers that people wanted. And MLS is kind of similar. Even though we are all good teams at a certain level, we have talented players. There's the hero class and there's the sidekick class. There's the clubs that everyone thinks is impressive in one way, shape, or form. And then there's the sidekick class where we're the rest of the league, essentially. Favi, do you want me to tell you who I put for which class, or do you want to guess them?
I'll guess them. I think that's a little more intriguing. I would say sidekick class right now, off the top of my head, Colorado Rapids.
Yes, I did put them in Colorado. And the reason for that is they still fly under the radar. I think after this season, if they can have a strong playoff push, I'll put them in Hero. But, so...
I think they need a rebrand. I think that's the problem.
I don't think so.
Burgundy doesn't do them any justice.
I like the burgundy. Like, it's a unique color.
You do?
Yeah. But
RSL sidekick.
RSL is a sidekick. Yep.
Yeah. DC United sidekick.
Yes. At the beginning of MLS's history, they would have been in the hero class. They won 4 MLS Cups, but that feels like ages ago now, so they're a sidekick.
Inter Miami hero.
They're a sidekick because they cheated. They tried to sign more DPs than they were allowed, so they're banned from the hero class for now. Sorry, David Beckham.
New York City FC.
Absolutely a hero. They murdered
Red
DC United.
Sidekick.
I put New York Red Bulls a hero because they're backed by Red Bull. So all the Red Bull clubs, they are kind of heroes in their respective leagues. They're not as dominant as Salzburg in Austria, and they're not as, haven't hit the heights lately as RB Leipzig did in Germany. But New York Red Bulls, they're always going to be somewhat front of mind, and MLS media loves to push the Hudson River Derby, even though none of the fans seem too interested in it these days.
Yeah, and okay. And then let's look at the Ohio teams. Cincinnati and Columbus both sidekicks.
For now, until they're officially eliminated from the playoffs, I'll keep Columbus in the hero class because they did win the MLS Cup recently. But Cincinnati, for sure, they're sidekicks. They're almost dropouts, but they're sidekicks.
Both LA teams are
heroes, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And then I think go ahead and tell me the rest because I'm blanking.
Okay, so the hero class: Atlanta United, Columbus Crew, the LA clubs, New England Revolution, Red Bulls in New York City, Orlando City, Philadelphia Union, Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, Sporting Kansas City. Any objections, Favi?
Nope. I think that's fair.
Okay, so that of course leaves Austin, Chicago, Cincinnati, Rapids, FC Dallas, DC United, Houston Dynamo, Inter Miami, Minnesota, because they're underdogs, of course, Montreal, Nashville, Real Salt Lake, San Jose, Toronto, and Vancouver as the sidekicks. And Toronto, that was one I debated the most between because until recently they would have been in the hero class, but they've been so bad, and they don't have Sebastian Giovinco anymore. So
yes, they do. He came back.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Sebastian Giovinco is a Toronto FC player.
Why do I am so ill-prepared for these MLS transfers for an MLS podcast. I am so sorry, listeners. This is probably the worst research I've prepared for a podcast, but thank you for listening anyway.
No, that's why I'm here. That's the only reason.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He says, according to, maybe they didn't update their Wikipedia, but it says he's just out of contract at Al Hilal. When was this announced?
Well, so he was watching a couple of Toronto FC games a while ago, and then there was a lot of rumors saying that he was already signing pen and paper to go ahead and play for Toronto again next season.
All right. Well, hopefully this podcast isn't enough to demote me from hero class to sidekick class and Tectonic Takes. I'm kidding. All of us here at Tectonic Takes are heroes. Everyone's been doing great work, from podcasts, videos, written work. Be sure to check out all our stuff. We retweet everything on our Twitter account at Tectonic Takes. You can also find me on Twitter at Ivan Ornelas too. Fabi, where can we find you?
You can find me on Favian Renkel on Twitter, and then make sure to follow us on Instagram on Tectonic Takes and tectonictakesespanol, as well as we have a Patreon, and I want to give a quick shout out to all of our great Patreon supporters. We are finally getting out of debt, so thank you to all you guys. We meaning that we were able to cover all of our costs, so thank you so much for that. We have this brand new software that we're using. We are looking pretty, and we look and sound pretty, so thank you to all you guys that helped fund that. But yeah, I want to go ahead and say thank you, Ivan, for having me back on.
Yes.
It's been a while.
Let's thank our sponsors
thank
as well. So
Yep.
we are sponsored. Thank you for the Beautiful Game Network for providing us a platform to produce these podcasts. Thank you to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And also, did you know that scarf trading is a real thing? So at the tailgate, we had a couple of Vancouver Whitecaps fans join us, and they talked about how they have a extensive scarf collection of different MLS clubs. They always bring extras to scarf trade. So if you're someone who likes to collect things like that, that could be something you can do, and that's something you can start with Roughneck Scarves.
That's actually really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, and tired of the same old uniform, the cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas?
Kinda.
Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday League squad, adult, or your son's eventual school uniform in a couple years?
Right. Yes, I'm tired of it already.
Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. It can even create you a camouflage Manchester United kit like me that I'm going to need for the next couple weeks, as they're complete trash right now. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. They will probably get a phone call from me shortly, because that sounds like a good idea. And
Well,
thankfully, the Quakes weren't the biggest embarrassment this weekend. That's the good part. Oh.
yeah, all I gotta say is, I guess we can't really say "Go Quakes" now. We can say "Go Dubs." Go Dubs.
Go Dubs.
Go Raiders.
Yeah, go Raiders. That might alienate the 49ers fans. Go 49ers too, I guess. Just for you fans out there, I won't. You won't catch me wearing.
Are you picking a team, Ivan, for the playoffs?
For the playoffs, no. But what I do for the playoffs is I follow every non-San Jose Earthquakes rival account on Twitter, so that way I can stay up to date and at least see what they're doing, and I can be a bit more invested in the playoffs that way. Yeah.
I'm choosing. I think Orlando City is going to win it all.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Nani did play well today, so we'll see. We do have two more regular season podcasts coming for you. We're going to double up one more time for the final time this season. Portland Timbers and Real Salt Lake. We're going to do that in one podcast. And we're going to do one final podcast for the FC Dallas. And then we'll go into our playoff content, international break, and then our off-season content. Favi, any chance that you'll book a flight from Japan to San Jose for the season finale?
I wish.
It might be too much.
For Wando's last week.
It might be too much to ask of your wife. Yeah.
No, it might be too much to ask my pocketbook, because your boy is broke. I can't come back for $1,500 for one game, you know. So,
are you able to afford Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl at least?
I'm excited for it, but no, I'm probably gonna get that on the secondhand market.
Okay.
I purchased an orange GameCube for $10, so I was really excited about that.
That
But all
reminds
the
me-
games are like $15.
One last plug, like Tectonic Gaming, like join our Discord because we do have some fun stuff planned for there. I post updates of both the Essex Clash Wanderers FC Create a Club career mode, where Eric Winalda is trying to navigate San Jose Earthquakes' sister club in Essex across the lower leagues into the Premier League. We're currently in season 1 of that, and I'll also post updates of other projects I'm doing for FIFA, such as my Newcastle United rebuild, quote unquote, the right way without the investments. And we'll also have some other challenges if you like other FIFA modes. Maybe we'll incorporate stuff for Pokemon. Maybe we'll do some Tectonic Takes group Nuzlocke challenges or something for the remakes. We'll see what we do there.
Yep. But definitely go ahead and follow us on Discord. It's a lot of fun. So please go ahead and all I have to say, Ivan, is go everyone.
Go Quakes. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Go Quakes. Have a good night, or whenever you're listening to this podcast.